2009 saw what appeared to be a laboring year for the sport of auto racing. It had been 3 years since the all-time record high ratings seen in the middle part of the decade, and with spotty grandstands plotting the trail to the sixth chase, many began to question heavily the decision-making in NASCAR. This was in part due to the competition side, along with the management at the top. Hendrick Motorsports driver Jimmie Johnson charged in the 2009 red hot, and seemed to be on a path to contend for what would be his record 4th consecutive title. Whilst historic, it put even more pressure on the leadership in NASCAR for perhaps showing the faults in their new championship format. Heading into NASCAR's postseason for 2009, with possibly the most pressure he has ever faced since taking over for his father, Chairman of NASCAR Brian France prepared, as like everyone else did, for the 6th chase. Once again, in front of a sellout crowd, 12 drivers prepare themselves for the start of a 2.5-month-long journey to pursue championship gold. All of the chasers have been swarmed with a plethora of media obligations over the last week, with points leader Mark Martin taking the most attention out of them all. At the age of 50, Mark Martin screams into the chase with the most energy out of all of his competitors. He's confident this could finally be his year, but is also comfortable with what he's already accomplished, stating a championship would just be a cherry on the top. He sits in front of his teammate in standings, the 48 of Jimmie Johnson. The team comes in as a favorite to win their 4th in a row, and while that stat alone will be able to put them as a favorite, the team has arguably put together their best season thus far. There has been very little down points, and if they run just run-of-the-mill for what they've done this year, it could bring them all the way to that 4th consecutive championship. And third is the last man to win the title before Johnson, Tony Stewart. Repping red for the first time in the chase, along with the number 14 Chevrolet, Smoke has a plethora of changes headlining his title run this year. He is an owner driver, and is attempting to become the first one since Alan Kulwicki in 1992 to win the championship. Some say it is a miracle that he's even made it this far, but others expected it with his knowledge. He sits ahead of the 4th seed and the driver of the 11, last week's winner, Denny Hamlin. During the week, Denny went on Regis and Kelly, breaking the record for most pies thrown during a pie fight. He did it with 3 other fellow chasers, and during last week's race, Denny said his team was, quote, dangerous, and that he believes that they could be strong favorites to end Jimmie Johnson's 3 in a row. In the 5th seed is the ultimate underdog, Kasey Kahne, getting into this year's chase by pure talent. According to most accounts, the driver of the 9 has more than a laundry list of distractions bothering him and his crew chief. Currently, his Richard Petty Motorsports team is merging with Yates, shifting and cutting employees day by day. Reed Sorensen, his current teammate, is driving for no salary, hoping to prove himself as the team cuts even more corners. They are also in the process of swapping manufacturers, and when asked who the leader of the team was, Casey replied with, "There is none." How they even made it to the chase is by just pure grit, and a borderline blinding trust between he and crew chief Kenny Francis. They've said that they've clung to one another through the most troubling time in their career, and while it seems like they'll have no shot, they also believe that a little bit more miracle work could put them in competition for their first championship. In the 6th seed is Jeff Gordon, continuing his drive for 5. This is the first time Gordon has been consistently asked the question of retirement. Being only 38 years old, it has surprised the driver of 82 wins in the Cup Series. But it is a valid question. What more is there for him to accomplish? To him, it's simple. He wants this 5th championship. Behind him in 7th is Kurt Busch, having a weird situation playing out for him on the pit box. Crew chief Pat Tryson is leaving at the end of the year to work with Martin Truex Jr. at Michael Waltrip Racing. Penske has thereby decided that Tryson will not be around in team meetings and withheld critical information as the team develops in the background its 2010 platform. To say the situation is awkward is an understatement, and for Penske's lone horse, it spells a path of turbulence for its sole attempt to win the title in 2009. The 8th seed is the buzzer-beater team of Brian Vickers and Red Bull. The promising team has hovered around the cut line all season, and against the juggernaut 18 team and Kyle Busch, along with Roush and Cup champions Matt Kenseth, they beat them all to advance into this year's chase. It's a bit of redemption for Vickers, who left Hendrick Motorsports after 2006 to join the upstart team, betting not only on himself, but the others as well that joined him. It finally feels like the fruits of their labor are prevailing, and while they seem like an underdog, 9th place, Ryan Newman seems like even more of one. Newman is piloting the 2nd Stewart-Haas Racing Chevrolet, And the 39 team, just like his teammate, have surprised throughout the year. Was once a two-car team fighting to be top 35 in owners' points, now are two teams in the midst of a championship bout. This is in part due to a consistent information stream from Hendrick Motorsports, working to build the two-car organization. However, now that they are direct competitors, the question comes in if that stream is going to continue. 10th is dark horse Juan Pablo Montoya, one of the most accomplished drivers of this generation. Juan adds being a chaser into his long list of accolades. For the 42 team, they host the most aggressive driver in the field according to most competitors, giving what they feel is an advantage as they dive into their first chase together. 11th is Carl Edwards, one of only two Roush chasers. The 99 has had a much different season than last year. It's led to no wins through the first 26 races. They are still here though, and ready to try and turn it up, starting at New Hampshire. They are joined by fellow teammate and 12th place seeded Greg Biffle. This is not very different compared to last year for Greg. They came in with little momentum and started off with 2 wins, skyrocketing them to be a favorite. Greg has the most chase wins besides Jimmy Johnson, and always sits as a quiet favorite to possibly end Johnson's streak. For the race today in New Hampshire, Juan Pablo Montoya sits on the pole with Tony Stewart to his outside. Kurt Busch sits 3rd, Hamlin 4th, Edwards in 5th, and in front of a packed crowd in Loudon, New Hampshire, we take the green flag in the 6th chase.
A packed house at New Hampshire. Juan Pablo Montoya will lead him down, folks, as the green flag is about to wave on the 2009 Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Tony Stewart clears off a turn 2 as Montoya tries to fight back, but is unable to lead lap 1. He eventually sails back by through 1 and 2, with Hamlin now covering the rear end of Stewart. As Johnson and Martin squirm through the mid-pack from their mediocre starting spots, Montoya has fired away. Casey Kane races Kyle Busch for 10th, pushing by as Johnson fights the 0-0 behind them. And Hamlin now holds 2nd over Tony Stewart. But it is short-lived as past lap 10, the 14 gets the runner-up spot back. Bobby Labonte is having a great run in 12th, and sits in front of chasers Ryan Newman and Mark Martin fighting in the teens. Brian Vickers is also in there, as Newman gets around the 18 before Kyle attempts to send a message. Busch continues to fade as the 5 catches him. And Kyle is not the only car fading, as Brian is also experiencing pressure from the front end of Sam Hornish Jr. Back at the front, Kurt passes by Hamlin for 3rd, and Stewart begins to close the gap on Juan. The points early is currently 10 with Stewart over Montoya, and the deficit on track begins to close as they hit traffic. Tony is there now, with Kurt closing as well. The traffic is thick like syrup, as Tony stabs it 3 wide through traffic attempting to clear, Montoya crosses him over. They make contact as Tony holds on and grabs his first bonus points of the chase. Kurt heats up Montoya now as well, and Hamlin and Gordon begin their argument for 4th. They settle down past lap 40, with Tony running away. And just inside the top 10, Johnson sneaks up to 8th. In front of the 48 is Carl Edwards, battling and eventually passing the 12 of David Stremme. Jimmy catches up and quickly gets by as well. And as they run, the top 7 are now all chasers. But Kurt Busch wants Montoya for 2nd. Gordon also reignites the battle from last week with the 11, and the 2 pairs fight hard behind leader Tony Stewart. Gordon gets by as the race settles in once more to lap 60. Where late into the opening run, 2nd through 4th find themselves all over one another. Many believe this is the most competitive chase ever, with the potential of 6 to 8 chasers having a shot at the title at Homestead. And with Gordon looking low on Kurt, the early action has been indicative of that. Jeff clears Kurt as Hamlin looks as well, clearing down the back. 5 chasers look good early on, but 1 isn't.
Trouble for the 9 car. Casey Kane. Smoke billowing from the back of his Dodge, and we told you there have been people leaving, all kinds of internal conflict, people leaving, bailing out of the engine room because they said they were going to close it down because of the merger with Yates Racing for 2010. And obviously this is not a good sight for Casey.
Last lap, I knew it was coming. Yeah, you heard Casey right there say it was inside the engine, so it is kind of coincidental that the engine department is a little bit in turmoil, and now they're having engine problems today.
The first mulligan has been spent. Casey Kane's talent against all the odds can't help a mechanical issue. as the engine failure will only swell distrust even further behind the scenes. The field pits under this yellow with everyone taking varying air pressure adjustments, and Montoya winning the race off over Hamlin, Stewart, Kurt, and Jeff. The field doubles up for the first ever double file restart in the Chase ever. They stay side by side off of turn 2, Stewart going through wide for it all. Montoya clears with his lead as Kurt backs out. Denny misses turn 3, and Stewart uses the mistake to grab the second place spot back. Jimmy Johnson meanwhile punches the top 5, passing fellow teammate Jeff Gordon. The 24 is now back to 7th and under fire by Mark Martin. They are interrupted, however, by a debris caution, leading to 18th on back coming down. It is headlined by Greg Biffle, who has had a hard-nosed day to get through the field. The race restarts on lap 92, with Montoya clearing Stewart. Hamlin attacks Tony and about totals the 14. The incident checks the entire field up behind them, and Johnson takes advantage, gaining as Stewart fades the 5th. The 2 is now second on track, and Tony settles back in and asks one question: who hit him? While he has lost some track position, Jeff Gordon has lost the most. He is back to 12th now, and this is in part thanks to Martin Truex Jr. getting into the 24, letting the way of Newman and Edwards to creep back into the top 10. Montoya during this leads past lap 100, 1 second ahead of Kurt Busch. Mark Martin is 6th, trying to close on Stewart, who now appears vulnerable. Gordon gets back by former teammate Brian Vickers for 11th. And as we run on, Kurt closes on Montoya. Red versus blue battle on as Kurt passes by lap 120, applying the heat, and gets by Juan. It gives him the lead of the race, and standings, with a 10-point lead over Mark Martin. It appears everybody is working tight, as Kurt early in the run stated he was loose, but now is perfect. Juan has also experienced this change. However, he is pushing tight now off the corners. Past lap 130, Gordon has chiseled back to 9th, with non-chaser Dale Jr. running up to 6th. Biffle with the fresh tires has only progressed up to 16th, as many plan to pit around halfway. This is thrown asunder, however, by a debris caution, bringing everybody down, taking air pressure adjustments to try and reduce the tight feeling. Juan again wins the race off, with Hamlin in 2nd, Kurt 3rd, and Mark Martin behind him. The race restarts with Kurt 3 wide, attempting to get his lead back, but he can't do it. Hamlin instead nearly clears off a turn 2, but Juan holds on and makes contact with the 11. They race neck and neck, with Junior now up there as well, all over the leaders. Denny clears Montoya, but the top 4 are crawling all over one another. Juan drives like a lunatic, taking stab after stab at the lead, and it finally pays off. Passing back by Hamlin and now ready to run away, Johnson catches up to Mark in 6th, as suddenly the caution is out. Many come down taking varying strategy options. Kurt takes fuel only, and sprints out of his box and makes contact with David Reagan. Juan takes tires, and loses a plethora of spots. The reasoning for the caution came out due to Eric Darnell getting dumped by Eric Almirola, collected Scott Speed as well, and with that the race restarts on lap 166. The field now looking like it was put in a blender. The traffic is thick, as cars who stayed out on old tires pushes the field to calamity.
And trying to go for the 6th spot right now. That's just a fast race car.
Oh, trouble here. We've got a big crash here. A lot of cars. Logano.
34 cars involved, half a dozen cars. John Andretti is involved. The 7 car, Robbie Gordon down there. Paul Menard, the 98 involved.
Doesn't look like any chase cars are involved.
Robbie Gordon, Michael Waltrip, Paul Menard, and Elliott Sadler are all torn up now, as the incident starts with a look at Jeff Gordon hitting the wall, and then Sadler spinning due to Joey Logano dumping him. Under yellow, Kurt reports the car is overheating, potentially a side effect of the damage. The race goes back green at lap 175, with Montoya going 3 wide. The race is interrupted immediately, though, by the franchise dumping Jeff Burton. Most stay out under this caution, leading to another restart on lap 181. Johnson fights high and clears finally, with Junior all over Stewart and Kurt, as Jeff and Mark race as well. Biffle is there looking at them, while Montoya attacks 3 wide on Hamlin and Newman. The 42 begins to make hay on fresh tires. Jimmy is also making time, building a 3-second lead thanks to his newfound track position because of staying out. Juan also makes quick time with the 14 before caution again brings the field down. Montoya again takes 4, while others take 2, which leads to Kurt and Martin winning the race off. The caution this time was for the 44 dumping David Stremme, leading to another restart with 102 laps to go. Kurt clears back to the lead with Montoya and the 48 beginning their charge on fresh tires. Kurt can't run away this time, however, as Mark attacks him. They're racing hard lap after lap, and finally gets by with 96 to go. Johnson races Gordon and nearly makes contact with his teammate, and Juan is driving hard up to 5th with under 90 laps to go. Tony Stewart rides 21st due to his pit lane issues, tanking his track position. Gordon in 14th slogs it with Greg Biffle, both trying to crawl forward. The race marches into a long green flag run now, as Brian Vickers in 22nd has come to the realization that this day has become borderline irrecoverable. A flurry of adjustments has done nothing for the car, and with 65 laps left, there's only one stop to fix the 83. Mark and Kurt, meanwhile, are praying for a yellow, as they are nearly out of gas. And with 57 laps left, Mark Martin makes his final stop under green. They now need a full cycle of pit stops, or else risk being trapped a lap down. Kurt pushes further to 52 laps left. Mark Martin makes his case better. He passes new race leader Denny Hamlin and begins turning quick laps to put himself at the tail end of the lead lap. Jeff Gordon quickly follows him down pit lane, taking 4 tires for the poor handling machine. Kurt soon catches Hamlin and passes him as well, letting the race run to under 40 to go. Johnson is in first, and now Junior is in as well. Montoya comes in with 37 left, Biffle joining. And finally, with 36, Denny Hamlin comes down for his final stop. He hands the lead temporarily to Ryan Newman, and Johnson with the undercut passes Hamlin and merges back on track. Newman, who ran long, takes 2 tires to try and short pit, while Edwards leads a lap and comes in with 32 circuits left. As Kevin Harvick experiences mechanical gremlins, Tony Stewart follows the same strategy as his teammate. As the field cycles out, Mark Martin gets his lead back with 28 to go. Hamlin gets back by Jimmy Johnson for 3rd, and then a caution. It is for debris, leading to Jeff Gordon and other chasers in the back of the pack to pit for fresh tires and adjustments. Burton sends a message to Montoya under this yellow, for Juan bulldozing him previously. The race restarts with 18 laps to go. Johnson pushing Mark ahead, and Hamlin sends it into 3 before locking it up big time. And then...
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the wall.
Hold the brake there, got some coming. Hold the brake.
They clean up the 88 and restart with 13 laps left. Johnson again shoves hard, with Montoya muscling his way to 3rd. Denny about junks the 48, as Mark takes off, leaving the 11 and 2 to squabble. Kyle Busch finally shows his face at the front of the field with 9 to go, and it is apparently a good time to interview Dale Jr. As Jimmy battles Kurt, he gets ahead of the 2, and then caution is out for AJ Allmendinger being spun. The incident is caused by Marcos Ambrose getting potential payback for being nearly totaled off of turn 2 the previous lap. Regardless, the incident will lead to a 3-lap shootout for our leaders. Mark Martin, one of the most well-respected, and while Pablo Montoya, one of the most aggressive, side by side for the restart.
Side lane. Martin has to cross the start-finish line first, and he does it, and now it's anybody's race as Martin tries to beat Montoya in 1, and Montoya gets there first.
Comes Kurt Busch on the inside of Denny Hamlin trying to make it 3 wide. Montoya made a great start there. He laid back a little bit and got a nice run.
He timed it perfectly. That's how you have to do it to try to maintain that with that outside car having the control.
Here comes Hamlin. He's cleared Jimmy Johnson.
Side by side, they are door to door out of turn 4, and Martin will take the advantage by a car length.
Wow, that was a great run off of that corner for Mark Martin. That might have been the move that wins him this race.
So fast right here. Montoya's still looking hard, chewing on that rear bumper.
Comes Hamlin to the outside.
This is what Mark Martin wants to see in his mirror.
Coming down for the white flag this time by Mark Martin, trying to hold off and hold on to a 5-car length advantage for the white flag. Martin has never won a race at New Hampshire.
See Kyle Busch there on the outside of Jimmy Johnson, trying to take that 4th spot away. Got a spin off of turn 4.
He's already taken the white flag.
So they'll race back here to the checkered flag.
Caution's not out yet. They're still racing. No caution yet.
They got cars sitting here. They're going to have to throw the caution.
Still not out.
Still not out. It's going to come into the checkered flag.
Really? Now the caution's out.
Coming to the checkers. Coming to the checkers.
And it is officially over.
Watch out. Watch out.
If caution's out, you got the win.
As soon as that caution comes out, the field is frozen, and so Mark Martin was automatically the winner.
Yeah, NASCAR did everything they could to let these guys race it back to the finish line there, but A.J. Allmendinger couldn't get his car started until these guys were coming off of turn 4.
A chaotic 3 miles leads to Mark Martin's 40th career victory, and the 5th of the season. Denny Hamlin grabs second as Montoya and Johnson finish behind to fill out the top 5. Outside of Kasey Kahne's blown motor, the first race saw 11 of the Chasers finish in the top 16, living up to what many hyped up as the most competitive chase ever. Heavy morning rains have washed away much of the rubber from earlier in the weekend on the track. The good news is, however, we should be ready for race time, and Jimmie Johnson sits on the pole today with Juan Pablo Montoya to his outside. Last week's winner, Mark Martin, celebrates his 750th Cup start, and NASCAR has bared heavy scrutiny for their held caution decision from New Hampshire. Today, they released a statement stating it was a mistake, and that a held caution will never happen again. On top of that, the drivers will race on a new tire provided by Goodyear today. The change becoming even more prevalent as the cars take on the fresh track. What will 400 miles at the Monster have in store for us? We're about to find out.
Race number 2 in the 2006 Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. 43 drivers thinking about victory. 12 of those have visions of a championship. Glad to have you with us. Good crowd on hand as they come out of turn 4 for the green flag here at Dover, Delaware.
Johnson clears through the first corners with Newman grabbing second. Greg Biffle fires to fourth as everybody settles in early. Many are racing to the lap 25 competition caution, letting teams be able to check their tires on the fresh track. Johnson quickly builds an early lead as Juan stalks Newman for second. Carl Edwards fights the 28th, moving up only 2 spots from his starting position of 30th. His teammate Greg Biffle holds strong over Kasey Kahne, a team who decided to go back a generation in their Dodge engines, hoping to contradict the engine failure from New Hampshire. Kurt Busch goes after Brian Vickers for 9th. By lap 20, Kahne gets Biffle. The field makes it to the competition yellow, with Stewart and Edwards miserably in 25th and 29th. Everyone comes down, with Kahne and Newman taking 2 tires. Johnson plays it safe and grabs 4 fresh Goodyears, coming off pit lane 5th for the first ever double file restart at Dover. Kasey Kahne gets a miserable start, stacking the field up off of turn 2. And then in the turn 3,
and take that spot away and take the lead away from Newman, but Newman will have nothing of it.
No, got trouble getting into 3, guys.
Joey Logano.
Big crash.
Oh, he's upside down.
Over and over, Logano goes between 3 and 4.
No.
The car will come back to rest on all 4 tires. Heavy crash here on lap 32.
20 is destroyed, along with many others. The red flag is displayed immediately as Joey Logano climbs out, and Gordon, Truex, and others all have their days ended by a massive checkup that sent Stewart into the rear of Logano. It's what triggered the massive wreck, and while Stewart doesn't have any major damage, he does have issues still on the front and rear. They begin to work on it as the field goes back to yellow, and they decide to bolt a plate onto the front end of the car. Tony on the radio says he feels awful for sending Logano for that ride. And the race restarts with Ryan Newman and Kurt Busch leading. 39 sprints away, and Biffle sits in 3rd as Johnson races Jeff Gordon in 9th. Kahne and Montoya file past Menard, as Gordon closes up as well for 6th. He gets by as Hamlin attempts to dig out of the teens with Mark Martin. And past lap 50, Ryan Newman runs away. Kurt Busch lingers, however, closing considerably until screaming by him on lap 58. Kurt has faced ridicule this week for his temper on the radio. Roger Penske, his team owner, even publicly stated that it has become a burden. He leads as Jeff Gordon rockets past Kasey Kahne, leaving well behind his teammate in the 48. And Montoya now closes on Newman for 2nd, passing by to the runner-up spot. Biffle and Gordon now close on the sliding 39. Gordon grabbing both Greg and Ryan to 3rd place. Newman falls back to 5th now, as Kurt charges past lap 75. The 42 is inching closer to him every lap, however, and they're both being hounded by Jeff Gordon. He is the fastest car on track, and a direct contrast to Ryan Newman, who loses 6th to a recovering 48 car. The run is interrupted, however, as Michael Waltrip blows a tire, bringing out the second caution. Everyone comes down for 4 fresh tires, Kurt Busch winning the race off over Biffle, brother Kyle, and Jimmy Johnson. Hammond leaving pit lane nips the 17 car, causing minor chaos. It shuffles the field for the restart on lap 90, with Kurt clearing again as Johnson attacks for second. Biffle holds on as Gordon falls to the clutches of Jamie McMurray. Jimmy attacks again and passes the 16. While Gordon goes for 1 and 5th, Biffle eventually fades to 4th as Kyle and Montoya go by him. Jeff Gordon begins to close on him as well, and he gets Greg as they pass by lap 100. Mark Martin eventually screams by as well, and toward the front, Johnson closes on Kurt. While Montoya fights with Kyle Busch, the two swap third a handful of times, with Gordon falling to the clutches of Kasey Kahne. As they run, the points gap between Martin and new second place driver Jimmy Johnson is 15, and Jimmy uses traffic to close up on Kurt. As Juan comes out of nowhere to apply the pressure as well, they sprint past lap 150 now in the race. Johnson's able to finally get the two, using the lap car of Bobby Labonte as a pick. And in the back half of the top 10, Biffle fights tight, while the 24 complains of an extremely loose race car. Eventually caution comes out for fluid on track. Coincidentally, at the same time Kyle Busch loses a tire. It requires for him to pit, and everybody comes down, all needing minor adjustments to stay with the track. Kurt Busch wins the race off pit lane over 4 Chevrolets. Johnson has a rough start, causing him to have to fight with Kurt on the lap 168 restart. The 2 clears while Gordon works to 3rd. Ryan Newman has a run and screams up to 5th behind the leaders. Johnson quickly smothers Busch and eases by after about 10 laps, and the 48 leads the field towards halfway. The top 6 are all chasers, and as they blast past lap 200, Tony Stewart has brawled his way up to 12th, while Kyle Busch blows another tire. This time it completely destroys the car, and it brings out the yellow. As a visibly frustrated Busch pulls to the garage, the field pits again, with Johnson finally holding his lead off. He has it over teammate Jeff Gordon, and Busch falls back to 3rd, ahead of Martin and Montoya. The race heads back green with under 190 to go, Johnson clearing ahead, and Stewart finally breaking back into the top 10. As Montoya passes Mark for 4th, they are well ahead of drivers like Vickers and Hamlin, barely holding to the top 20 as they race past lap 230. Johnson holds a 5-point lead over Mark Martin as the race stammers past lap 250. And the 48 laps past the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Jimmy is flying, as Denny was running 20th, but so early on they still need 2 more stops. Back in the pack, Tony bump and runs the 44 of AJ Allmendinger, trying to break a career-long streak of 5 consecutive races outside the top 10. As Johnson closes on Vickers in 17th, ready to lap him, he is saved by David Stremme blowing a tire and smashing the outside wall. The field flanks pit lane once again, many wanting adjustments but not knowing exactly what to do. Johnson wins the race off over Kurt Busch and Jeff Gordon, and they take the green flag with 123 to go. Montoya shoves Johnson to the lead, and Gordon gets second. As the 42 slots to 3rd, they get super close off of turn 4, and while Tony now is up to 6th, he attacks the 2 of Kurt Busch for a top 5 running spot. Marcus Ambrose battles fellow non-chaser Casey Mears in front of Carl Edwards. Ahead of them, Kasey Kahne fights Ryan Newman for the 9th place spot. 15 laps into the run, and Johnson's lead is already 2 seconds. As they cycle to the final 100 laps, Kurt is furious as his car has gone away, stating they can never make good adjustments. He is passed by Mark, as the 48 starts plugging through traffic once more. The fight for 9th persists, as 300 cars supplant the top 4. Mark ties the points as Hamlin is lapped for the 2nd time today. He is cemented there with a debris caution marking 76 to go. In the field pits, knowing this could be the last stop for the day. Gordon still wants more adjustments, as others take none, and the issues surmount for Jeff as he falls to 7th through the stops. With Johnson holds at the front with now Mark Martin flanking his side for the restart, Matt Kenseth makes an appearance up to 3rd as the race restarts with only 71 laps left. It's routine for the 48 as he clears, while Mark fades to 4th. Montoya is now the runner-up, as Kenseth and Kurt run 3rd and 4th. As Jeff Gordon tries to recover from his 8th place spot, a caution interrupts his progress as the 178-19 smash it up down the backstretch. Jeff leads the cars to take service down pit lane, as now Johnson has to take care of the red-hot 42 car on the restart. They go green with 53 left, as Kenseth pushes the 48 ahead. They both clear the 42, and Jeff meanwhile slugs it out with the Boilermaker for 11th. He's having to try and build back his day, and eventually cracks the top 10. As the race works under 40 left, just as he gets to 8th place Casey Mears, Sam Hornish spins off of turn 2, bringing out the caution once more. The leaders stay out again, with Stewart leading the group down. The top 8 are the cars that will restart on the old tires, as Tony races behind them with only 27 laps to go. Johnson, as usual, clears ahead in the 1, as Matt Kenseth gets 2nd. Tony Stewart starts attacking from 13th, snaking his way towards the top 10. They approach 20 to go, and Kane and Newman find each other again, as SHR cars crack the top 10. Mark eventually catches Matt for 2nd and fires past to grab the spot. Hitting 10 to go, he attempts to match his teammate's speed, but it almost seems meaningless. The race slots into a calm, as coming to the white, Johnson looks to finalize his domination on the day.
And he is a lap away from collecting his 5th win on the Monster Mile.
About one more time around.
He came here as a rookie driver in 2002. Not only did he win both races that year, he led the most laps in both races, serving notice that this young man was going to be a factor in NASCAR Sprint Cup racing. And here today, he has led 3 times for 271 laps, and Jimmie Johnson wins it at Dover.
For the first time since 2002, Jimmie Johnson sweeps Dover. Mark holds the points lead, as Montoya strings together back-to-back top 5s. Jeff Gordon recovers to 5th, as Kane, Stewart, and Newman close out the top 10. Only 2 chasers finished outside the top 15, Vickers in 18th and Hamlin in 22nd. Plenty of time left, however, but now they head to the underrated wild card of the chase. On a beautiful September day in Kansas, Mark Martin sits on the pole with fellow teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. to his outside. Third is 5th Hendrick car for the weekend, Brad Keselowski. While showing extreme dominance as of late, Hendrick has been warned after last week at Dover that the cars have been too close to being illegal, even though there's still intolerance. Despite the vague threat from the officiating body, Hendrick takes its 5 cars to the top 11 starting spots for the green flag in Kansas.
49 races since Earnhardt Jr. has gone to victory lane. He has not led a lap since Michigan in August, and it was in this car. Who will it be? Lap 1 as Mark Martin brings him down to the green flag.
Mark Martin clears in the 1 as Jr. slots the 2nd, and Jim McMurray in 3rd. Kane runs up to 4th in front of Stewart and Keselowski before our first caution. Joe Logano spins off a turn 2 but has no contact. And despite the horrendous crash from last week, Logano comes into today with confidence after winning yesterday's nationwide race. The race restarts on lap 6, with McMurray getting 2nd from Dale. Tony dives 3 wide on the apron to gain positions before another accident off of turn 2 again. This time multiple cars are around, with various non-chasers torn up like Bobby Labonte, Michael Waltrip, and David Reagan. The incident started with Paul Menard just losing it off the corner. And during this yellow, some decide to pit, with the only chaser coming in being Brian Vickers. Once again, he is struggling early on, as Kurt Busch has been back there in the pack with an overly stressful opening laps from his 39th starting position, avoiding both incidents thus far. The race goes back green on lap 12, Jr. holding high and grabbing the lead after a lap. Martin falls to 3rd, making up an extremely weird HMS 1-2-3, while Pablo Montoya attacks for position as well, as Johnson begins working from his 11th place starting spot. He's right behind Jeff Gordon, and Jr. begins to pull away as Kurt works up to 24th, racing his brother Kyle. Juan, back towards the top 10, begins carving up to 9th, slamming Jeff Gordon down the backstretch. The 42 is fast, as Johnson cracks the top 5 by lap 28. Gordon, meanwhile, fades to 10th, while Mark Martin holds 4th. Kurt cracks the top 20 as Johnson passes by Mark for 4th place. The 5 is soon under fire by Stewart for the 5th place spot, and he reports to be very loose early on. Johnson soon catches and blasts past McMurray for 3rd, Stewart following suit. Eventually, Mark also gets the fading 26 car, having Hendrick hold 4 of the top 5 spots. This doesn't last as the franchise passes Mark for 5th, and Tony eventually passes Johnson for 3rd by lap 50. The first stops of the day loom for the leaders, and Keselowski starts with Newman following. Then it's Johnson. Eventually Jr. is in along with Montoya as they all take 4 tires and full fuel. Stewart, on the stops, wants his car to roll center better, while Mark wants no adjustments. Carl Edwards stays out and grabs 5 bonus points, as former race leader Dale Jr. is black flagged for a lug nut missing. He comes back in, taking his race, and now Edwards has an issue: speeding. With this, rookie Brad Keselowski cycles to the lead. That is, until teammate Jimmy Johnson attacks and clears. They ride behind 29th place Brian Vickers, about to lap the 83 car, and potentially put him in position for elimination only 3 races into the chase. Past the 100-mile mark, caution comes out for Reed Sorensen breathing on the wall. It drags the field down pit lane once again, with Johnson and Brad taking 4. Greg Biffle, though, along with Truex and Kurt Busch, take 2 tires, leading on the restart with 75 laps complete. They avoid calamity as Jimmy goes 3 wide to 4th. Biffle flees as Montoya blasts by the 5. Stewart stalks Kurt and Keselowski, racing tight with his fellow drivers. Brad, getting the learning experience of a lifetime, battles hard, dicing it up as Montoya catches them both. They scream through the field, ahead of Gordon and Hamlin fighting for 10th. And at the front, Johnson catches the 16 for the lead. Greg fights hard, holding off the 48 5 seconds ahead of 3rd place. Biffle keeps defending, side drafting, pinching, blocking, and taking away Johnson's line any chance he gets. This goes on for 20 laps as he holds off the fresh tires of the 48. Jimmy finally uses the pick of Max Pappas to hold Greg up and clear to the lead. While this is all going on, NASCAR sends officials down to the 25 box to tell Brad to calm down. They ask to remember that the other people around him are, quote, racing for a championship. In 5th place, Montoya rides not only on track, but the momentum they have built over the first 2 races, looking for his 3rd consecutive top 5. They are closing on halfway, and he races with Brad Keselowski throttling up and dooring the young driver. It eventually leads to the 25 starting in the next pit cycle, as Kurt Busch pits next, as the cursed mid-cycle caution suddenly comes out. It's for Brian Vickers, who spins off of turn 4. The field is in disarray now, as the cars who haven't pitted yet come in, and the others who have pitted try and stay out to either gain their lap back or track position. All of them take 4, with Johnson leading the race off with Montoya and Gordon behind. Biffle will lead, however, on the restart, as he caught the caution just right with when he was pitting. The 48 fights high, however, and clears him off of turn 4 after the restart. Gordon and Montoya fight for 3rd, with the 42 clearing, all behind the 48 who has vanished out front. He's far ahead of the duel with the 16, 42, and 24 for 2nd. Stewart catches them 5 seconds back of Jimmy, before problems for Elliott Sadler bringing out the caution once more. Carl Edwards is the lucky dog now, as all the leaders run down pit road. Johnson heads the drivers who take 4 tires, as off pit lane, 8 take only 2, and Greg Biffle is the first of them, then Tony Stewart and Mark Martin behind. The race restarts now with 116 laps left. Biffle clears with Stewart falling in behind. Johnson fights just outside the top 10, as Montoya makes aggressive moves to work ahead. Juan eventually gets the 8th, drooling over the 07 to Casey Mears. He eventually tries to look 3 wide middle on 2 non-chasers. As back at the front, Stewart catches Greg, and they race hard. Tony works low on the 16. Eventually they are side by side with them making contact, letting Greg squeak back ahead. This allows Hamlin to draw closer, as Montoya continues his march up to 5th. Soon he is up to 4th place Jeff Gordon, as they tick under 100 laps to go. As all this is going on, another chaser makes slow progress, Kurt Busch, finally cracking the top 10 today. Edwards has recovered to a modest 16th place, as chasers Ryan Newman and Brian Vickers all have issues. The 39 is just bad, and the 83 is reporting engine issues 2 laps down in 36th. As final stops loom, the questions of pitting early come into play. The problem, however, is fuel, as pitting any earlier than lap 210 could result in them not being able to make it to the finish. The top 2 that are running right now are the last 2 to win on fuel mileage here in 2006 and 7. But even for them, the debate is what to do. Montoya and Casey Kane work past Gordon to the top 5, as past lap 200, Biffle starts the cycle. Johnson follows, with Gordon in the next lap. And over the next 5 circuits, the field blitzes pit lane. All of these drivers currently pitting are betting on them most likely having another caution, as none of them will be able to make it on fuel. The last in is Kurt Busch with 59 laps to go, stating that he is probably the only one able to make it home. Biffle cycles back to the lead as Johnson, with his early pit stop, leapfrogs him up to 5th. Gordon and Kane battle for 3rd as Montoya screams past the 48. A debate of fuel saving begins as the race works under 50 to go. Some keep expecting a caution, while others begin to get worried. Johnson eventually gets back by Juan, as he also catches the 24, and they go 4 wide, answering the questions on if they are saving fuel. With 40 laps left, many feared the possible green flag finish, until caution for fluid on the racetrack. It comes from the 88, who had a belt come off the oil pump, and now, with his day ruined, everybody flanks pit road. They all take 4 tires, except Stewart, Kane, and Johnson. Greg falls back, the first car on 4, and in the position of attacker for the first time today. He takes the green with 26 laps left, and they go 3 wide for 2nd immediately. 16 clearing to the runner-up spot, and Johnson fading to 6th as mayhem unleashes. Stewart is setting heaters at the front of the field, trying to pull away, and Gordon works past Kane to 3rd. As Kurt Busch has an incredible save, Kane, Hamlin, and Montoya race hard, slicing back and forth with one another. The 48 is losing more spots to 9th now. He's the reverse of teammate Jeff Gordon, who chases down Greg with only 14 laps left. He passes him to 2nd, and now he's on the attack for the 14. He chips away lap after lap at his old rival's lead, and Mark Martin squabbles for points behind him just inside the top 10. With 8 laps left for Gordon, it is 7 tenths. 5 to go, and it's 5 tenths. He inches closer all the way to the white flag, but Stewart tries to keep the gap.
At a top 5 since his win in Watkins Glen. Now Tony is 1 lap away from getting his 4th win of the year. That's the margin, 0.6 of a second. Tony Stewart trying to hold off Jeff Gordon. 2 turns away for Tony Stewart, the 38-year-old 2-time champion, coming out of turn 4, and Tony Stewart will win it at Kansas Speedway.
Tony ends his longest top 10 drought of his career, winning his first chase race with his new team. Gordon grabs 2nd, heading 10 chasers, finishing in the top 11. With 3 races down, all 12 chasers stand as Tony Stewart goes to Knoxville to run dirt late models. For the first time ever, Southern California lays host to the Chase. A beautiful fall day assures NASCAR of moving this date, as they did so because of blazing temps that would consistently occur during the event when it was in August. Fontana will host what is the closest chase to record at this point, along with heated drama, as on Saturday during the nationwide race, Greg Biffle got into an altercation with rookie Joey Logano, resulting in the young driver's father Todd Logano getting his hard card revoked. And Greg today will start 2nd alongside pole sitter Denny Hamlin, ahead of Jimmy Johnson in 3rd, and the red-hot Juan Pablo Montoya in 4th.
The stars and cars of NASCAR taking center stage here in Southern California as the green flag waves.
Hamlin clears to the lead with Biffle and Johnson fighting behind. Montoya pushes Biffle clear and slides by the 48 to 3rd. Jimmy attacks back, regaining the spot, and then gets Biffle, who struggles with handling early on. On pit lane, the 18 crew prepares to replace their driver Kyle Busch, who is desperately sick. David Gilliland, who is currently racing, is the replacement driver, preparing to park the 71 car when the time arises to replace Busch, as Johnson starts reeling in the 11. He's eventually side by side and then clears by lap 11. Eventually, Juan moves past as well to 2nd, 1.5 seconds back of Johnson. The CGR team is riding high, having just won the IRL title this past weekend with Dario Franchitti. In the mid-pack, Brian Vickers is up 16 spots from his 32nd starting position, and Edwards moves past Clint Boyer to 7th. Jeff Gordon now cracks the top 5, as Mark Martin tries to enter the top 10. By lap 25, Montoya catches Johnson and flies by, setting by far the fastest times on track. Many are stunned by the 42's speed, and Johnson desperately tries to stay close. Juan currently is the only chaser to finish every race thus far top 5, and by lap 40, pit stops loom on a long green flag run. Biffle, Kane, and Johnson start the cycle, all complaining of working tight. Montoya, Gordon, and Martin are in along with Newman. Kyle Busch stays in the car, and through the cycle, Jimmy Johnson gets his lead back. Montoya has none of it though, and by lap 45 he attacks. They split the 12 off of turn 4, and Montoya successfully gets the lead back. As they run, Johnson now leads the standings by 13 over Montoya. And racing past lap 50, Gordon battles with Hamlin for 4th. Eventually we have our first caution for Jamie McMurray blowing a tire. The field comes down with Johnson having a poor stop, losing 6 spots. Newman takes 2 and leads Montoya, Harvick, and Hamlin off pit lane. Kyle Busch jumps out of the car under this caution, seeking medical help, as David Gilliland pilots the 18 car back to the green flag on lap 65. Mark Martin spirts 3 wide up the gut as Kevin Harvick takes the lead. Hamlin fights back though as the 2 run side by side. Mark closes on them both, appearing for the first time today, and Montoya re-enters himself as well. They slot Harvick back as Mark goes for the lead, eventually getting it on Hamlin. He completes the pass as Johnson works back to 5th. As the sun finally pops out today, Johnson drives up to 3rd, as Hamlin fades until our second caution. This drags the whole field down, and strategy shuffles the pack. Truex wins the race off over Montoya and Martin, and Johnson loses 4 spots this time. The race restarts on lap 87, Juan clearing Truex immediately, who's on older tires. He eventually is passed by Martin, and then others. Harvick and Edwards fight in the back half of the top 10, as Johnson is screaming fast, passing by Martin and Hamlin. Juan, though, leads strong by 1.7 seconds over the field, and we work towards halfway, with Johnson slowly chipping away at the 42's lead. Eventually, by lap 112, he works low on Juan, and finally gets back to 1st. Gordon and Hamlin fight for 3rd now, till they are interrupted by a debris caution. Everyone pits with Hamlin winning the race off over Jeff Gordon, Juan fading to 5th. The race restarts again, with Gordon clearing off of turn 2. Hamlin getting him back though at the line. Johnson closes on them both, and into 3 he gets the lead. Dale Jr. battles with Biffle for 6th, and Juan begins to try to recover past Gordon. He's fighting loose as he gets him, but Johnson is already gone at the front. Kurt Busch fights in 6th place now with the 88, having a horrid car. Hamlin and Montoya fight for 2nd, closing on 100 laps to go. As Juan finally sets sail to try and chase the 48, it is a staggering 7 seconds back as they pass lap 155. The green flag pit cycle starts, with Greg Biffle, then Johnson. Edwards and Kane come down as well, with Montoya in the next lap. Everyone who pits is complaining of needing more grip, cycling all the way through to Jimmy leading over the 42, 24, and 5. Tony Stewart gets caught speeding, having to come down, and now is slotted 30th, 1 lap down and potentially looking at his first Chase mulligan. Time is running out quickly for a recovery, as the race screams to under 70 left. We again see another caution for debris. The field comes down, all taking 4. Hamlin barely wins the race off over Montoya. Closing in what could be the last run of the day, this restart could be critical to try and get control of the race. An opportunity to win has turned into a head-on impact and a destroyed FedEx Toyota. What was a simple mistake turns fatal for Denny Hamlin's chase hopes, eliminating him from the 6th chase. The race heads back green with Johnson and Montoya leading. Martin gets way loose as Gordon squeaks to 3rd. Harvick sails 3 wide as Johnson reaffirms his lead. Ahead of a flaring chaos in the top 5, Kurt Busch is there as they shuffle back and forth. Clicking under 50 to go, Brian Vickers reports his rear shock tower is broke, and he's now plummeted to 30th. As they run, many space out preparing for final stops. Biffle struggles along in 12th, with his teammate and Marcos Ambrose plugging along behind him. Checking out in the pit box of the 48 is furious, as someone has left the radio channel open, making communication almost impossible. Burton makes a crazy move, racing Carl and Tony with 41 left. We charge down to 35 to go, and Hamlin comes back out on track. Stewart makes up the 14th with 28 to go, an immaculate recovery drive. But Carl Edwards is the exact opposite, having fallen all the way to 20th now. Jeff Gordon has caught Montoya, and it clears as the cycle starts with 24 to go. Many of the first drivers in take 4 tires and fuel, preparing to charge hard for the final 20-lap run. Down to 21 to go. The leader is now Tony Stewart, staying out, either hoping for a yellow or running long to make a short stop and gain some track position. Jeff Gordon, after the stop, is only 2 seconds back of Johnson, as Tony finally pits with 16 to go. And then, caution. It is for debris, which saves Stewart and bunches the field up. In one of the most glaringly obvious fun flags thrown in history, this now sets up a perfect 12-lap shootout. Gordon, Johnson, Martin, and Montoya, all ready to duel for track position. The 48 takes us to green, but through 1 and 2, Gordon powers ahead with the lead. He now has control. Until...
in the wall. Oh, trouble.
Oh, there's Casey Kane across, and he takes Biffle with him.
A fun flag, in effect, ends Casey Kane's chase. He had nearly everything stacked against him. An emotionless team, consistent ownership turmoil. But through it all, what strikes him down is a restart crash caused by a phantom debris yellow. He is eliminated from the 6th chase. Biffle is also destroyed as they begin repairs in the 16. The field is bunched back up, ready for a 7-lap shootout to end the 500-miler. Can Gordon best Jimmy Johnson? On the high side, he does, and Montoya takes it 3 wide with the 48. The 2 has a tire up and is smoking heavily, and at the line, Johnson tries grabbing his lead back. He gets him, but behind.
Jimmy Johnson goes by and takes a position, or does he, as Jeff Gordon can try to get back.
Trouble.
Sideways down across the racetrack.
I know Marcus Ambrose is involved in that.
Elliott Sadler, Reed Sorensen.
Allmendinger is there, the 31 of Jeff Burton, who was having such a good run. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Man, a lot of cars torn up here.
An enormous crash takes out countless cars. Sorensen, Jr., Burton, and Casey Kane is involved yet again. Allmendinger is destroyed, and Sadler is totaled, along with Brian Vickers. The 83 team did everything they could to make this chase, but they've been average at best since it started. They were the underdogs, and now they are eliminated from the 6th chase. In some sick irony, all 4 RPM cars were involved in this accident, and Casey Kane calls out on TV the fake debris cautions that led to destroying nearly 20 cars now. The field rolls back yellow, with Tony Stewart in 6th, making it a 3-lap shootout to see who can win at Fontana.
Montoya on a mission. Here they come. It'll be 3 to go as the green flag waves.
Well, Jeff got a good start. I mean, that's a really good start for Jeff Gordon. As good as you can time it.
Tony Stewart trying to look to the outside, falls back in line behind Montoya. Look at Montoya going high.
Now, who can stay in the throttle off of turn 2 is going to be the most important thing. Jimmy slides right up in front of Jeff Gordon and fall back in behind Mark.
Here comes Montoya now for 2nd.
White flag, final lap here in California. Side-by-side action, Gordon and Montoya, 2nd position. Mark Martin is driven now out from underneath the 14 car. Here he comes, trying to be a factor here, maybe to finish 3rd or 2nd.
I'd say he'll go to the high side here and see if he can get by Montoya.
Montoya's going to try to block, but he...
See Gordon all the way on the apron.
Jimmy Johnson coming down out of turn 4. What a job they have done again, and for the 2nd year, make it 3rd year in a row in the fall. Jimmy Johnson wins at California. And Gordon finishes 2nd.
Nice job, guys. Hell yeah.
Johnson wins the 2nd of 4 races in the chase thus far. Jeff Gordon finishes 2nd. Montoya 3rd, and Tony Stewart grabs a top 5. Edwards recovers to a 6th place, and now Jimmy Johnson leads by 12 over Mark Martin. It is his 16th career chase win, and special to him at his home track driving a car sponsored by his charity. He's carrying endless amounts of momentum, going to arguably his best track now, Charlotte. With gold-painted walls commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Speedway, 49 degrees Fahrenheit sets a frigid mood for the race in Charlotte. Rain is also looming, and as they play the anthem, it begins to sprinkle. Jimmy is on the pole, leading a race dedicated to the inaugural Hall of Fame class for NASCAR. Mark Martin is second, Kane third, all of them helping set the track record in qualifying. Jimmy Johnson is trying to win from the pole, something that has not been done since Harry Gant in 1992 here. Can he do it? We go green in Charlotte.
Green flag here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
The leaders hold side by side through 1 and 2, with Johnson getting loose through 3 and 4 and giving Mark lap 1. Kane holds third before our first caution for Sam Hornish Jr. going around. The race restarts again on lap 7. This time, Johnson clearing as now the 9 goes for second. Mark stays ahead as Newman rides fourth, and Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski race. Brad is in his last start with Hendrick Motorsports. And now, Hamlin races his teammate Jeff Gordon until our second caution, again being Sam Hornish Jr. Jimmy takes us back green in the 16th consecutive Charlotte race he has led, and runs away once more. Newman gets third as Kyle slides to fourth. Montoya rides 8th currently, slowly climbing to the front as Gordon does the same in 16th. Newman soon fights with Kyle Busch for third, losing the spot, and Logano battles with Ryan. Montoya lurks on the track behind them. The 20 struggles with the 39 and Juan catches them trying to get them both. As this goes on, spits of rain trickle on the track, and the top 4 space out past lap 40. Kane begins to pull in on Kyle, and Juan eventually fades to 9th. Our third caution comes out, this time being for rain, and it gives a reprieve to drivers like Carl Edwards who miserably run in 38th on pace. The field pits with Kenseth winning the race off over Johnson and Busch, and he leads on the lap 43 restart as the rain stops. Johnson holds side by side with him in the 1, and this stays all the way around the track as Jimmy leads at the line. Eventually he has to submit, and now Mark looks, but he can't. Gordon and Stewart battle just outside the top 10, and Kenseth really begins to leg it. Tony, meanwhile, is in a freefall, losing positions left and right. After some time, Johnson encroaches in the 17 and cruises by, regrabbing his lead. Gordon and Newman race one another, touting Transformer schemes, promoting the new movie hitting theaters. Jeff is Megatron, while Newman is Optimus Prime. While the battle for the fate of the world lies just inside the top 10, Hamlin passes Matt for second, and Johnson touts a 47-point lead, as Juan is rim riding in 7th place. Denny begins to lay down fast lap times, as the battle of good versus evil consumes Casey Kane. The good guys prevail as Johnson loses his lead. Hamlin is by, and now Matt gets there as well. Jimmy now is frustrated, and tells Chad to shut up or he'll strangle him. Juan works up to 5th, as Jimmy loses 3rd to Kyle Busch, and Montoya gets 4th in front of the 48 as well. Mears and Busch go 3 wide with Jimmy, as Kenseth starts the pit cycle on lap 90. Johnson is immediately in the next lap, having a slow stop, and then it's Mark. Newman has a 21-second service, while Kane, Stewart, and the Busch brothers come in as well. Through the cycle, Kenseth gets his lead back, as Hamlin sits now 3 seconds back. The race crosses by lap 100, with Hamlin closing that gap and retaking the lead in an instant. Johnson is hounded by the 42. Edwards is 33rd a lap down, looking at elimination. Matt is also fading, with Bowyer and Kane on him, and the racing line has drastically widened now. The 48 gets Busch for 3rd, and Juan does as well, with Martin struggling in 7th. Eventually, the race is interrupted by Kyle Busch spinning off of turn 4, bringing everybody down pit lane. They all come, with strategy mixing the field, showing Gordon at the head now. It's followed by Biffle, Newman, and Hamlin. The top 3 restart with 2 tires on lap 124. It causes major wheel spin, started by Greg and checking the field up. Many cars throughout the pack have minor damage now, and one of them is the 42. Right rear is smashed, and it begins to fade. Mark Martin also fades with a poor handling race car, as Johnson begins to dig back through the top 5. His teammates run away, as Hamlin gets up to 2nd, and Dale Jr. blows a transmission. Nearing halfway, the top 5 are all chasers, with Casey Kane now smothering the 16. Mark Martin with a poor handling car is 15th, but not nearly as miserable as 30th place Juan Pablo Montoya. The gap at halfway is 67 for Johnson over Mark, and 90 now over Gordon in 3rd. Juan is about to get lapped again, and he is furious inside the car, boiling into...
Correct that right rear, and they're hoping for a caution, and it's a little bit too late. He's going to be the caution.
and go forward. Keep it running. Keep it running and go.
In his anger, he disregards the shredding tire, compounding a difficult day. And now this officially becomes his mulligan. The field pits with Hamlin beating Gordon off, over Kenseth and Johnson. The race restarts on lap 170. Gordon grabs a spot as Matt gets second from the 11th. Matt stalks Jeff now, and the field shuffles. The yellow comes out again for Montoya's new quarter panel blowing off, only enraging the Colombian more. The field pits with many more taking to. And Kenseth is the leader now over Johnson and Gordon off the pit lane. The 5 teams spend some time during this repairing a hole in the nose, hoping to reverse the direction of their night. The field is also 11-less, as Denny experiences an engine failure, ending his night prematurely. Kenseth gets ahead with 140 to go, as Johnson gets second. Kurt Busch is now 4th, as they work 3 wide again in the pack. Bowyer fades to the top 10, as Johnson attempts to catch the 17. Matt's teammate Carl Edwards pits for tires under green, and Kane catches Johnson past lap 210. In the garage, Denny Hamlin complains of the format not awarding consistency enough, and as Kane with 110 laps left grabs the lead for Matt Kenseth. The 9 car has come alive, and Casey now charges under 100 to go, preparing for pit stops. He comes down with 95 left, as Gordon from 4th follows. Over the next 10 laps, the field cycles through with Kurt staying out the longest, to 87 to go. And then Kenseth stares down Kane after a good pit stop, closing the gap. The 9 stretches the lead back out to 2.4 seconds, however, and he slowly closes on a struggling Mark Martin in 18th. They have one more stop to try and fix the 5 Chevrolet, and it could be void, as by 70 to go, he's about to get lapped. His championship bid is worsened by Jimmy Johnson now up to 2nd, 5 seconds back of the 9 car. During the run, it is shown that Kane actually had his ignition fail while coming up to speed off the pit lane. Somehow, coming up to speed on cold tires on the apron, Kane successfully swapped over the backup ignition and didn't lose the lead. Casey laps Martin finally, and soon the 16 as well. But as he closes on more cars, he gets interrupted by a caution for Max Pappas detonating. The field charges towards final stops, with all taking 4 and the 48 winning the race off over Kane and Gordon. It is impressive performance by the 48 crew with the new front tire changer John Lucas, who over the last 2 weekends became a late addition to the team. The first time he actually met Jimmy Johnson was when he got out of the car in victory lane last week, and with 39 to go, we head back green. Kenseth attacks as Gordon clears the loose 17 car. Quickly the caution comes back out though for David Gilliland smacking the wall, and Mark Martin gets the lucky dog this time. After some chicanery of getting the field sorted out under this yellow, Johnson leads on the restart with 31 left, pulling away with Gordon following. However, caution quickly comes back out again for Carl Edwards. He is blown up. This year was a far cry from his 9-win season of 2008. And with never showing race-winning pace, this was all but inevitable. Carl Edwards has been eliminated from the 6th chase. We restart again now with 26 left. HMS drivers against one another. The 48 wins in the 1 as Jeff Gordon gets second. Behind them, it's 4 wide as Stewart stabs low on his own car. They somehow make it work until...
He goes by. Stremme not wanting to back out. He's driving to get a job next year.
Holy cow, look at Stremme. Now goes the Biffle.
And Biffle trying to keep it down on the traffic up across.
Forward back straight. Nothing coming at you. Still nothing coming at you. Hit the grass. Wait.
I heard somebody say that wasn't going to work.
So get the water from flow. Be grass in the grill. Don't look like we had any contact. Come back, Joel. What do you see?
Biffle has an insane save, not to total his race car. As everyone casts blame on the incident to the 12 car of David Stremme, the track is cleaned up and the race restarts again with 17 left. Gordon holds with Johnson this time. Neck and neck, they're super close and the 48 gets loose. Gordon powers to the lead, showing flashes of 98. And now the 48 is in the clutches of Kane and Kenseth. Johnson tries the high side and immediately finds speed, attempting a crossover on Jeff and in a daring move swooping back by Gordon. 2 decade-defining drivers now get hounded by the 9, and Gordon falls to both Kane and Kenseth. Under 10 to go, Jimmy is turning pole lap speed, and as they fight behind, Kenseth and Kane have a super close call off of turn 4. As they fight on, they come to the white, and it's all 48.
The racetrack's name, the sponsor's name, one and the same for Jimmy Johnson, a 5-time winner thus far in 2009. We mentioned no driver has ever won 3 of the first 5 Chase races, but the guy who is chasing history in NASCAR has done it tonight at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Jimmie Johnson gets the win.
3 wins in the first 5 races of the Chase. It almost feels as 4 in a row is inevitable at this point. Gordon holds on the 4th over Joey Logano, and outside of Kane in 3rd and Kurt Busch in 10th, every other chaser finished outside the top 10. One of them is Ryan Newman, too far gone in this year's Chase. He had an incredible run to get here, being part of the largest team turnaround in recent memory. But for the all-time great qualifier, he is eliminated from the 6th Chase. Six of the last 7 races of this track have been won by Jimmie Johnson, and holding the largest point lead at the halfway point of the Chase ever, many feel doomed to fate today. The fans today are the Grand Marshals, sending off Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon, the front row seaters that lead us to green at Martinsville.
It's glad to have you with us, folks, getting set for some bumping and rubbing in the bull ring that is Martinsville, Virginia. The fans, 60,000 strong, they wave the green flag here today as we are underway for Chase race number 6.
Ryan leads lap 1 as Gordon slots ahead of Truex and Martin. A competition caution is slated for lap 50, as all Saturday track activities were rained out. Johnson begins to work up from his 15th place starting spot. The first caution is out for Marcos Ambrose, Matt Kenseth, and Robbie Gordon. Kurt, from his 37th starting spot, squeaks through, and the race restarts again on lap 13. Patience seems necessary early on as Truex looks at Gordon, and they're well ahead of the 48 car that is slicing through traffic and already up to 7th. Jimmy soon gets 6th from Harvick, and Gordon, feeling the heat, passes Newman for the lead. Montoya battles Stewart just outside the top 10, and he is also up 10 spots from his starting position. He goes after Mears for 9th, and Mark and Truex pass Newman in the top 5. Ryan eventually falls to 5th, as Johnson also streaks by, pushing the pole sitter back to 6th place. Montoya fights with Logano as Johnson soon grabs 4th, and then 3rd for Martin. Suddenly, Michael Waltrip spins, right next to our top 2 in points. This brings out what will be the competition caution, and everyone pits. All take 4 except with Gordon and Truex, who win the race off pit lane. The 2 cars on the 2-tire strategy restart on lap 51, with Gordon ahead once more. Johnson quickly dispatches of the 1, and then is on the 24's back bumper. Juan works up to 6th, as Johnson slowly passes by his teammate, officially leading all 6 Chase races thus far. Jeff soon fades as Newman attacks on fresh tires, and Mark gets him as well. Montoya is up to 5th now, and stalks the 24. He moves Gordon, and Jeff is not happy with the 2-tire call as he continues to fall through the field. He eventually plummets to 7th, as the yellow is out once again. Everyone takes 4 tires this time, with Johnson and Martin holding off the pit lane. Jeff wisely takes 4, jumping back 2 spots ahead, and the yellow was for Dale Jr. blowing a tire. The race restarts on lap 95, Johnson clearing again, ahead of Newman and Mark fighting. Gordon attacks back on Juan, clearing, but Montoya moves the 24. It doesn't work as he keeps laying into him, running all over one another. Gordon is furious by the way the 42 is racing him, as crew chief of the 42, Brian Patty, begs to not cut a tire down as he continues to door drivers. Johnson begins weaving through traffic as Kurt Busch cracks the top 13. Caution, though, comes out for Dale Jr. blowing another tire, and the field pits again. Johnson is ahead over Montoya now for the restart, and they go green on lap 137. It is relatively uneventful, as the top 4 single file out until Juan sends it on the 48. Jimmy immediately submits, and now Montoya looks to erase last week's misfortune with his first oval one. Jimmy's decision was in part thanks to Chad Canals telling him what Juan did to Jeff earlier, and the 42 leads past lap 150. Caution comes out again, this time for debris, and this time it is actually real, as many of the drivers run it over, under yellow 15th on back pit, headlined by Hamlin, who takes 2. The race restarts with Montoya holding over the Hendrick boys, and Stewart fights in the top 10. Hamlin leads the fresh tire charge. Eventually, the yellow comes back out for Penske cars crashing. And now the cars that stayed out pit and they flip-flop the field. Johnson leapfrogs Montoya as they now sit in the middle of the pack. Hamlin is now leading ahead of the Busch brothers, and Juan and Jimmy fight in the mid-teens. Their progress is interrupted by the 77 crashing again, and the only pitters are the 31 and the 2, as the race restarts past lap 200 now. Johnson is already up to 6th, gaining 10 spots at Martinsville in 13 laps, and Labonte sits in front of them in 4th as the Gibbs cars race hard. Kyle gets a lead from his teammate as Johnson passes Edwards. Montoya soon follows as Harvick in 3rd watches the Gibb boys fight back and forth, and Gordon and Newman fight in the teens as Casey Kane crashes behind them. He brings out the yellow once more, and Biffle pits under this yellow, trying to reverse his day at one of his worst tracks. Hamlin on the restart reclaims the lead as Johnson gets to 29 for 3rd. Montoya again follows Johnson through, as now the 48 looks at Kyle Busch. The 18 races him hard, but eventually submits, and Montoya tries following through, making contact with Kyle. He becomes another driver not happy with the 42's racing, and Jimmy begins chasing down Denny Hamlin for the lead. The top two sit way ahead of Kurt Busch and Jeff Gordon, who are still stuck in the teens, and closing on halfway, Hamlin holds on the 48 and 42. Caution comes out again for AJ Allmendinger smashing the wall. Everybody comes down with Johnson grabbing the lead. Montoya comes off 4th, complaining that Jimmy is exploiting the pit timing lines, which, under the wise guise of Chad Knaus, they are. The race restarts past halfway, with the 48 pulling away from the 11 of Denny Hamlin, leaving him with the ultra-aggressive 42. Juan prevails as caution quickly comes back out for John Andretti and Sterling Marlin. The race restarts now past lap 280, with Jimmy pulling away again. However, NASCAR is not happy with the 48's restarts, as Jeff Burton nearly wrecks off of Jeff Gordon. Montoya now hounds the 48, trying to close and gain the lead. Montoya repeatedly bangs the chip down the straightaways, trying to close the gap, and Newman and Kyle race for position as Jeff Gordon sits in 8th behind them. Caution is out again for Casey Kane blowing another tire, and more pit stops ensue. Martin and Hamlin hop in front of Montoya, as leaders now will be Tony Stewart and the franchise. The 00 clears the lead on the restart, with Johnson stuck in 5th, as Truex does a 360 in the back of the pack, but keeps it going. David Stremme definitely sent the 1 on purpose, and NASCAR gives the 12 a warning for doing such. Johnson quickly slices through the cars that stayed out, eventually crawling up to the rear of the 00 and clearing. He leads his 100th lap in the event, making it 7 of the last 8 races he has led more than 100 circuits. His teammate Jeff Gordon is 15th, suffering in traffic after another wrong adjustment. Hamlin slots to 2nd, ahead of 3rd place Juan Pablo Montoya. He again bangs past the franchise, and Johnson leads to under 150 to go. Hamlin begins to prevail as the fastest car though, and he wants redemption for the spring. In that event, Johnson moved the 11 on a late dive bomb to win, and now as he chases him down, Dale Jr. behind them blows a tire. They stay green and catch the 16 of Biffle, and Hamlin is under the 48 with 131 laps left, trying to get by for the lead. Johnson stays close as Hamlin clears, and Gordon finally cracks the top 10. The race now runs long enough to where pit stops become a concern under green. Hamlin laps up to 20th place, behind Kurt Busch with under 100 laps to go. He gets by the chaser, and now laps Jeff Burton. Kurt is now stuck a lap down with 90 to go, and some come down as the cycle starts. Jeff Gordon, with this super long green flag run, has driven all the way up to 5th, whilst Tony Stewart comes in early needing gas. In the final 20 laps of this run, Jeff Gordon was consistently 0.3 faster than anybody on the track. And now a rare green flag pit cycle is fully underway at Martinsville. It is total chaos as people jump on and off pit road, but the top 6 stay out. Finally, one of them pit with 67 to go, in the shape of the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya. Then it's Johnson, Martin, Hamlin, and Gordon. The finale of the cycle is Ryan Newman, and we survive through the entire sequence to 60 laps to go with no yellow. That changes though as Elliott Sadler dumps John Andretti. Now with under 55 to go, most of the front stay out, and we restart with 52 laps to go. Hamlin tries to hold off a hot Jimmy Johnson, and is successful in doing so. Stewart runs 9th now, working the strategy flawlessly. He attacks Edwards for 8th, as Johnson closes up on Hamlin again and bangs him in the rear. He jumps the curb, and the 40 laps left, the top 4 stay close. Gordon begins attacking Juan for 3rd, while Mark Martin fades to 8th with nearly 30 laps left. The race settles down as Johnson struggles to close the gap on the 11th. However, a debris caution is out for a piece of rubber, and Hamlin is furious. He says that they'll have to give them another shot at him, and with 12 laps left, they'll be just that. Hamlin versus Johnson, but Gordon interjects on the restart from 3rd place, but Hamlin still clears. Johnson gets the 2nd as Juan gets by Gordon for 3rd, and Mark Martin, who pitted for fresh tires on the restart, drives all the way up to 9th before another caution is out for Scott Speed. It now leads to a 2-lap shootout, where Hamlin has to hold on one more time.
It is a green-white checkered. The last 2 fall races here, we've had green-white checkers, and guess what, folks? Jimmy Johnson has won them both. Can he do it today, or is Denny Hamlin going to pay him back for not getting the win here in the spring?
He's able to stay a little closer this time, but Hamlin clears him off of turn 2.
It'll be white flag this time by Denny Hamlin, the leader. Johnson in 2nd. Montoya right in the back.
Oh, Carl Edwards in the wall. He keeps it going, though.
And
Get the white flag.
Here comes the 18.
And the 34 car of Andretti has crashed and slid across the racetrack. The white flag waving here. And no caution yet. Here they come.
He's got his car coming right in front of these guys.
Oh, man, he better hold that thing down there.
And Denny Hamlin will take the win. Johnson 2nd.
Denny Hamlin wins after a 15-lap disaster class of officiating by NASCAR. Chad Knaus is furious about the calls at the end of the race, and Greg Biffle has lost his opportunity to compete in this year's chase. The second most winningest chase driver fought hard to stay in the equation, but at his arguably worst track is where his title hopes come to an end. He is eliminated from the 6th chase. The wild card, the lottery. This race has been called many a things, and in the chase today, pole sitter Jimmy Johnson faces his greatest challenge for 4 in a row. He has wrecked at Talladega in 7 of the last 11 races here, the most of any chaser, and concern is at an all-time high for him because of the new rule implemented only hours before the race. Drivers can no longer bump draft in the corners, completely confusing everyone in attendance. On top of that, controversy swirls around AJ Allmendinger, who is charged this week with the DWI. The lineup is set by points due to rain interrupting qualifying, making our championship contenders lead us to green flag in Alabama. Johnson edges ahead off 2. But Mark takes advantage in the 3. He leads lap 1 with Stewart, as Kurt now looks high with Biffle claiming the next lap. The racing seems normal, as the bottom line quickly dies out with chasers Johnson, Stewart, Gordon, and Martin all falling back. They are 4 wide at the front until caution for Paul Menard wrecking with Joe Nemechek. The 98 blew a tire, with many pitting under this yellow for adjustments in fuel. The race restarts on lap 9, with Kurt Busch and Carl Edwards leading. Carl cuts down in front of Kurt, getting the lead lap before the franchise charges high with help from the 16. The pack runs 2 and 3 wide behind him, as Biffle quickly gets filed back. The 2 regains the lead, as it feels even more racy than usual early on in the event. The top 3 finally single file out, as Jeff Gordon suddenly reappears at the front of the field. He slices up to 2nd as Kenseth races under him. Eventually, Gordon works ahead and leads the race with Biffle pushing him. They work past lap 20, with Johnson and Stewart riding well behind the pack. Mears and Harvick get together and stab to the lead, with the bottom groove beginning to die out early on. The top 10 suddenly single file out on the top lane, and then by lap 26, the entire field rides in a single file line. There's not a car double file, and commentary is in disbelief and begins stating how this is a direct cause of the rule changes from this morning. They run this way past lap 30, then 35, 40, until some get ready to pit. Rusty Wallace during the broadcast makes a point that being this conservative could lead to massive crashes late in the race, due to nobody knowing the real handling characteristics of their car, and pit stops ensue with all taking 4 tires and fuel. A car spins pitting on lap 50, but everyone seems fine. The next lap, Tony and Sadler pit from the lead. And then...
all those cars that pitted on lap 6 or 7. Here's the two.
Oh, there goes Kurt Busch. This will bring out a caution right here.
Trying to save it to the grass and keep it from going back up across the racetrack.
It is over for Kurt Busch. The two teams fought against mistrust of one another to prove that they could contend. And while they made it this far, the accident at Talladega has become the nail in the coffin to end their run. They are eliminated from the 6th chase. With the caution being mid-cycle, Jeff Gordon paces nearly out of gas. Stewart pits again, as the field shuffles to Elliott Sadler and spring winner Brad Keselowski leading. The top three break away, as Hamlin leads the second lane. The pack now sits 2 and 3 wide, as Gordon and Jr. fight to get back to the front. Dale pushes Sadler past Hamlin, and now to lap 60, Jeff Gordon gets the lead. Quickly, Jr. grabs it back, but Jeff works back low with help from Harvick. The group switches back and forth, with Montoya emerging at the front in third now. And Harvick and Jr. drag them up to the high line, and by lap 70, we are single file once more. Commentary is borderline speechless. They don't know what to say, and they do this to lap 85, until Kenseth and Gordon finally start a second lane. They fight to try and do something, as the field back there goes 3 wide heading towards pit stops. Truex pits first as Montoya cycles to the lead, starting a plethora of groups of cars pitting lap after lap. Through the cycle, Hamlin gets back to the lead by lap 100, and now to single file around the bottom. Many under this top off once more, with Hamlin and Logano leading on the restart as the field shuffles once more. Robbie Gordon finds a lead as Jeff Gordon works high. Eventually the Gordons work together, before Hendrick and Gibbs fight one another at the front. As the racing just starts to get good again, NASCAR comes across the radio to all teams and vaguely warns them to not push. Hamlin gets to the lead as the bottom, headed by Jeff Gordon, slowly fades away. Johnson still rides 34th, still waiting for his time. And under 70 left, with Newman and Sadler leading, there's 2 healthy lanes still working together. While the bump drafting isn't noticeable in the corners, there's still a lot of banging down the straights, as Kyle and Denny work to the lead. Stremme works the middle lane, as Jeff Burton squeaks ahead of Gordon pushing. They eventually are 3 wide for the lead, with close calls becoming frequent. The race runs under 55 to go, with Stremme and Brad now fighting side by side. Those 7 eventually fires back out front with Jr. trying to get Brad Keselowski to the lead, and Hamlin meanwhile pulls off and has his engine explode. It brings out the caution with about 50 laps left, and the field pits. They were all close to their fuel number, as it cycles out to Brad Keselowski leading with 45 laps left. Stremme pushes Gordon to the lead by turn 3, as Harvick shoves Bowyer towards the front as well. Dale Jr. makes a 4-wide move, as Jeff gets slotted back, and Stremme charges back to the front as the race picks up. Montoya makes a very in-character move and goes to second place, dicing 4 wide, and Johnson still sits in the back as Burton edges ahead from the middle. Jay McMurray now appears, and charges low on Marcos Ambrose, grabbing the lead with 36 to go. The top now starts to prevail, as McMurray works with Matt to try and single file them out. It works as the top 20 slot in, and with 33 left, the entire field settles into the single file line. Many are saving gas, trying to ride home, and they do so till 26 to go. Still nothing. A bottom lane attempts to form with 23 left, and Martin drops down with Jr. The SHR cars work together as well, as it appears to be go time. The Roush cars work 2 lanes, and Jr. grabs the lead with roughly 20 to go. The 48 still rides way in the back, as Mears fights back ahead. McMurray gets a run and grabs the point back as Mark leads the high lane with his teammates. They shuffle to 17 left, and Kurt Busch makes a reappearance. With 15 to go, perhaps his elimination was preemptive, a part of the 3-wide frenzy with 13 to go. McMurray and Jr. now fight, as Stremme now shows his face. They ride side by side to 11 left, and the 44 blows up, as now Johnson begins to try and snake his way through the stragglers in the back. The top lane with 10 to go begins to prevail once more, as Stremme has a moment off 4 with 9 laps left. We are down to 8 to go, and Kenseth works with Gordon to be ahead. Jeff now attacks the Roush-Keteers, but he can't do it. And with 6 laps left, Kurt Busch finally falls back out of the pack. Johnson loses positions, and perhaps this is starting to become his mulligan. Fuel is still a concern, however, but that's about to become irrelevant.
Now you can see that. If somebody run out of fuel right there in the middle of that group, it would cause a huge wreck. We've heard, oh, here's a car upside down.
Big time crash upside down.
It's Ryan Newman.
See Kevin Harvick there. Marcus Ambrose.
Ambrose is there, comes across. Harvick stops, and Newman's car comes to rest upside down on its roof.
A quiet tone falls over the speedway as Ryan Newman sits in a facade of a car. There is no radio communications, and safety workers clamor around the vehicle. He gives an alright symbol, as replays show him blowing over due to the car tomorrow's wing, landing him on Kevin Harvick's hood. Through a series of sidewinders, he ends up on his lid in the grass, and the red is out as Newman is alright, but he has to be cut out of the car due to it being crushed so badly. Many are speechless by what they've seen. NASCAR had announced a move back to the spoiler at some point in 2010, but after this incident, it appears that can't come fast enough. As meaningless as it feels, Tony Stewart has crashed and burnt his last opportunity to be in the chase hunt. He has been good this year. With all the negative momentum of the chase, it is not good enough for him to win in his opening season with SHR. He is eliminated from the 6th chase. The field gets one to go immediately, as NASCAR tries to not run anyone out of fuel. But Jeff Gordon runs out. Then Montoya. And Johnson, who saved fuel the entire run, is looking perfect as he slides up to 16th just under the caution. Many more run out as we finally get the green-white checkered restart with McMurray and Vickers. Bryan gets ahead as more run out behind him. And down the backstretch, Jimmy Johnson slots to 6th place. McMurray gets a push from Kane. And coming to the white, who's it going to be to win at Talladega?
Damage 2 car, Kurt Busch back there.
Oh, they're still beating and banging. Here comes Keselowski.
He's not afraid to beat and bang.
How about Carl Edwards, who made that charge on the final lap in April? He's up high.
Got a long way to go, and they're coming to the white flag.
Yeah.
Oh, here goes Kurt Busch around.
Oh, crash behind you. Crash.
Oh, Mark's upside down.
Everywhere.
Martin is over on his roof.
Back on his wheel.
Into the wall. Casey Mears, Rudiman is there, Reagan is there, Robbie Gordon, Jeff Gordon.
See Montoya driving through the grass.
And the white flag and the yellow flag are waving.
Martin still driving this car.
Martin coming from his roof, and there's the damaged 2 car sitting on the apron. Jeff Gordon trying to lead Kane in second, Logano third, Biffle and Jeff Burton in the top 5.
Looks like he is going to make it to the finish line, Jamie McMurray.
So the first Ford win here in 21 races. The last Ford to win here, Dale Jarrett, in October of 2005. But now it is Jamie McMurray in victory lane as a winner at Talladega.
McMurray rolls around and wins in possibly one of the weirdest races in Chase history. The day is punctuated by a plethora of officiating blunders. Last year's Dega race was bad, but this year's was arguably worse. Johnson is one of 3 chasers to finish top 10. For Montoya, who is 19th, it's over. He had a miracle run to start the year, but after Charlotte and today, the first foreign-born chaser will have to wait another year to try and become champion in another form of auto racing. He's eliminated from the 6th chase. $187. That is the points lead for Jimmy Johnson, as Mark Martin has given up over 170 points over the last 3 races. Coming into today, Johnson could all but lock up the title if things go his way. In true Texas fashion, the pace car was transported via air today, The Grand Marshals are ZZ Top. Jeff Gordon is on the pole with Mark Martin 7th and Johnson 12th. Brad Keselowski is making his debut with Penske today. And with 3 races left, we go green in Texas.
Set to turn them loose here in Texas.
Through the first lap, Gordon and Kane fight, with the 24 taking lap 1. Eventually Kurt Busch steals second, as the front single files out. But behind them,
is here a year ago.
Trouble off of 2.
And it's
like
Jimmy
Johnson
Johnson
spinning.
sideways, and
Inside.
trouble for
Crosses
Jimmy
out.
Johnson as he slams the inside wall.
Oh man, he's got a lot of damage to that race car.
Yeah, there were 3 wide.
the first time since Talladega in the 3rd chase, the 48 car has wrecked. The harsh impact into the concrete wall is his first mistake in nearly 3 years. The first flash of misfortune that has plagued the 48. He has burned his proverbial mulligan. And as he drives around the apron limping the car back to pit lane, an audible cheer can be heard. As they pull into the garage to begin work, Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin feel the pressure as it is now or never. The point total is 31 as they run. The 48 team is replacing the entire rear end housing as the race restarts on lap 9. Gordon clears to the lead, shrinking the points total more, and Martin fights in 12th. The 48 sits as Mark dices with Montoya. Gordon eventually fades as both Busch brothers get ahead of him. The points gap moves to 56. Mark works inside the top 10 as Kurt builds a 4-second lead by lap 40. They weld on the 48 car to get it as perfect as possible, and one of the men helping them is car chief for the 24 car, Jason Burdett. It has become a full team effort to get Johnson back on track, and the gap sits at 61. As Stewart passes by Jeff, and Dale Jr. also speeds by. As Kurt Busch motors away from the field, lapping past the back half, the first pit cycle of the day starts, with Gordon one of the first in. The adjustment to fix his ailing car takes extremely long, tanking his track position even more, and the race cycles out after about 10 laps to Kyle Busch now leading over his brother. He had a borderline flawless cycle, gaining him the track position, and the race speeds past lap 65. Johnson is still taking repairs, as Jeff continues to fade, moving Martin to second in points. He's 76 back. By lap 70, Jeff Gordon is 11th, stating the car is completely awful. In the top 10, Marcos Ambrose is putting together an incredible run, chasing Stewart nearing lap 80. Kyle Busch laps past Brad Keselowski, reporting that the 18 car is working loose over the run. Eventually the caution comes out for Sam Hornish Jr. smashing up his Dodge and pulling the field down pit lane. Kyle holds his lead over Kurt, with the franchise in 3rd, and he leads them back to green on the restart and clears them into turn 1. Gordon, who restarted 9th, is attacked by Montoya and stabs by in turn 3. They ride ahead of Mark Martin, struggling at 16th, as they cross past lap 100 now. The Busch brothers abandon the field once more, as underdogs fight for 4th. By lap 110, the gap is 87, with Mark working past Gordon for a top 10 spot. Marcos Ambrose is now the fastest car on the track in 3rd, and begins chasing the Busch brothers down. Suddenly, from the garage emerges the broken and beaten 48 car. It has no rear bumper. In the front is an all-black machine, pulling up to try and make minimum speed. Through some trial runs to make sure the car doesn't fall apart, they verify it's good, and make the minimum speed requirement. It's now time to start cycling off laps to gain track position. And all this happens as Gordon fades to 14th. Ryan Newman is all over him as well, as the battle heats up for 2nd on track. Johnson grabs 42nd as he cycles, gaining 3 points to his day. The race now crosses the 200 to go, as the next cycle starts with Jr. and Stewart. Mark Martin comes in next, along with Jeff Gordon, needing a swarm of setup adjustments. The Busch brothers come in needing little adjustments and come back out front. They lap by now 40th place Jimmy Johnson. Gordon is even worse than he was before. He's trying not to lose more spots as he now rides in 17th. But he loses another one, and now the gap is 121 back to Johnson. He's now nearly about to get lapped by the 18 of Kyle Busch, as the leader is going for an accolade never before done, winning all 3 national races at a track in the same weekend. Kyle won the truck race on Friday, and the nationwide race yesterday. His progress is interrupted though by a debris caution, exactly at halfway in the race. The field comes down with all taking 4 tires, and Kyle once again holding his lead off over his brother and now third place Dale Earnhardt Jr. Marcos Ambrose, who was in the third place position, had his entire race collapse as issues moved him all the way back to 18th on the lineup. Under the caution, Chad asked Jimmy if he wants to keep going, expressing concern that if the car breaks, he could get seriously hurt. Johnson says he's fine. And the race restarts with the 2 jutting ahead, but behind the leaders.
The race. Oh, trouble, turn 2.
In the wall. Montoya up there.
Gordon around
Jeff
too.
Gordon spins around.
And
And
Keselowski into it.
major points implications. Montoya's car back into the wall.
Keep it up
Carl
there.
Edwards heavily damaged front and rear. And Jeff Gordon has some damage as well.
Yeah, I don't.
With a spritz of luck, the 24 is fine, while the 99 is demolished. They look the car over and change the tires, noticing only a singular broken splitter brace. The gap is now 81 over Gordon, as the restart occurs once more on lap 182. The 2 clears, with Hamlin fading. Mark races Matt Kenseth for 7th, as the field runs under 150 left. Gordon sits still in 18th, absolutely awful, as Mark finally gets a 17 for 6th. Eventually, yellow is out once more for the 43 having major issues, and the field pits once more, with them neck and neck for the restart with 122 to go. Kyle wins the duel, as Gordon makes 0 progress through the restart. He's still stuck in 18th, but Mark Martin is up to 5th, closing the gap to 75, and putting pressure on Johnson. The race slips under 100 laps left, as Kurt begins to catch Kyle. Johnson is now 39th, as Kyle pulls back ahead down to 88 to go. Mark starts a cycle, with many doing so knowing they can't make it on gas. As people slowly invade pit road, Kyle Busch is in with 65 left, leaving the lead to Kurt, who runs 2 more laps, to 63. He loses some time as the cycle finishes with Kyle back out front with 58 to go. Many, if not all, of the front runners believe that there is no way they'll be able to run home without a caution. They work to 40 laps left. Kyle is now told he is 3 laps short, but they're not worried too much about it. Kurt is told that he is 2 short, whilst new third place runner Mark Martin hopes for an uneventful finish. The race works to 31 to go, and Jeff Gordon gets lapped. The 18 team tells Kyle that if the race runs green, they don't plan on pitting, and if he wants to, he could start saving fuel or just go for it. He holds a steady lead over the franchise, who is nowhere close to making it in third, reportedly 9 laps short. Mark is told he is 6 short, and submits the idea that they'll have to pit. Truex is the first to come in for final stops, as the reality of no caution begins to set in. Kurt, meanwhile, works back to third, 4 seconds back of his brother Kyle. Biffle is in with 19 left, then Stewart, as the race works to 13 laps to go. It is evident that only 2 men are even going to have a shot to make it. The Bushes. With 10 left, Gordon pits, as Kyle Busch backs his pace off majorly. He works to 9 to go, with Kurt being told to focus on his fuel number. Tristan says that there is no way Kyle Busch will make it on gas. With 8 left, the 00 is still on track. Team owner Michael Waltrip begins a plot to try and push his car to the finish. However, NASCAR tells him that they will be parked if they do that. The franchise runs out of gas with 5 to go, as Kyle keeps backing off to 3 laps left.
Enough fuel to make it.
They said they
I'm
would.
out, coming to you. I'm out. I'm out.
He's out. Okay, he's pitting.
He'll be on pit road. And what about Kurt now behind him? Kurt never pitted 2 laps later.
He's coming off of turn 2, so Kyle Busch has a long way to go.
Kurt Busch to the lead, needing 3 miles, a handful of gas, to try and win $1 million for Operation Homefront.
White flag,
White
that
flag,
time
take
by.
care of it, bring it to the house.
Kurt Busch trying to milk it for 1 more lap. He has never won at Texas Motor Speedway.
And Kyle Busch still sitting on pit road, not able to get refired. Just barely rolling.
Kurt Busch's lone win in 2009 was on a 1.5-mile track, a sister track to this one at Atlanta Motor Speedway down in March. A year ago, Carl Edwards stretched the fuel mileage and won it here. And once again tonight, the fuel mileage works, and Kurt Busch will go to victory lane here at Texas.
Kurt Busch wins by the largest deficit in the 21st century, over Denny Hamlin, and Mark Martin gets back to 4th. Kevin Harvick finishes 5th, crossing the line at 80 miles an hour, and Jeff Gordon somehow gets back to 13th. The gap now for Johnson is 73, heading toward Mark 1 in April. Martin Truex Jr. sits on the pole today, as two things could happen for points leader Jimmie Johnson. He could clinch his 4th consecutive title with good fortune, or lose his points lead with a repeat of last week. He starts 3rd over Mark Martin in 10th and Jeff Gordon in 14th, as we go green in Phoenix.
These drivers take a step closer to history. They come down and we turn them loose in Phoenix.
Truex grabs the lead in the 1, but Kurt gets ahead in the turn 3. He slides up, and Truex looks back under, racing to the line. Martin and Gordon stay ahead of 3 wide behind them, both on the brink of the top 10. Jeff Gordon gets 8th as Martin passes for 10th. The first 30 laps fly by early, with Johnson finally getting the 2nd. Gordon and Martin now work up to 5th and 6th, with Mark eventually getting 5th from Jeff as he shows a fast car early on. Past lap 40, Kurt works through traffic, with the 48 closing. And with 50 laps down, the gap is about a second. The traffic checks up the 2 big time, and the 48 getting a run, he gets 5 bonus points by nipping the 2 to the line after getting side by side. Kurt gets him back, however, as Johnson swaps low, helping take the lead more steadily. The points gap sits at 108, as Mark grabs 4th from Truex. He then stares 3rd place Denny Hamlin down, and the first pit cycle begins on lap 69. Greg Whipple is in first, then yesterday's nationwide winner Carl Edwards. The field slowly trickles in over the next 6 laps, with Ryan Newman capping off the stops on lap 75. Johnson, who had a weird stop, loses his lead to Kurt Busch, and Mark and Jeff race hard for 4th now. Jimmy closes back on Kurt, but struggles to find a way around. Gordon battles Kevin Harvick now, both inside the top 5, and the 48 and 2 begin a heated battle for the lead once more. Johnson crosses Kurt over, and eventually the reigning champion does indeed begin to work away through lap traffic. The race quickly works past 100 laps complete, and the thick traffic slows the 48, but Kurt continues to fade even harder. Mark catches him for 2nd. Eventually, after 115 laps, the caution finally comes out for debris. The entire field comes down, all of them taking 4 tires, and then HMS 123 off pit road. Kurt Busch had a poor stop, placing him 5th now for the first ever double file restart at Phoenix.
Chain reaction incidents. Oh, Junior out of line back there.
Like a little contact there with the 40. Oh,
and we told you they were concerned, and they wadded up there at the back of Michael Waltrip involved.
Caution.
After the massive pileup, the field is restacked, and Johnson gets away once more. Gordon gets passed back to 6th as Kyle Busch closes on him. The 18 nearly sends the 24 as they race, passing him as Gordon now sits furious. Kyle, recognizing his error, lets Jeff back by, paying back his unfair dues. The race screams past lap 130, with Johnson still leading. Montoya and Kyle Busch race one another as the 48 continues to pull away, and by lap 150, he has a 3-second lead. He holds it until another debris caution just past halfway. Everyone is in for 4 tires and fuel, and Jimmie Johnson holds his lead over Clint Bowyer now, as Denny Hamlin moves up to 3rd. Martin falls to 5th, along with Gordon in 8th, as Johnson scoots away on the restart, with Kurt Busch powering to 2nd. Gordon works high on Kyle Busch, before
Montoya. Oh, near contact again.
Oh, trouble off of 4.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved, couple of cars. Tony Stewart is there, the 17 is there. Bobby Labonte in the 71. 20 of Logano involved.
A constellation of drivers sit torn up off of turn 4, as the origin of the disaster began with Dale Jr. just losing it off the corner. Stewart is not happy at all with the 88, and after the 10-car crash, we go back green with Johnson holding a 113-point gap. Bowyer and Kurt race for 2nd, as Jimmy pulls away again. Kurt holds as Mark falls back to 7th, not having a short-run car. Gordon holds barely in the top 10, as he stares at the 18, 42, and 1 all racing one another. Johnson pushes the race to 120 to go, before Jeff Burton cracks the top 5. Dale Jr.'s team finds in the garage an oil leak, which they believe contributed to the accident. The battle for 2nd keeps going strong, as Hamlin eventually closes on the 33. And past the 92 to go, Johnson laps the damaged 14 car Tony Stewart. He charges the race past 80 to go, as Kurt Busch fades to 5th. He's under fire from Truex. And final stops begin as Johnson takes a 15-second stop on the last cycle. Kenseth stays out long, hoping for a yellow. As through the cycle, Hamlin slots to second and sits the closest car to the 48. For the following 25 laps, Hamlin rides about 7/10 back, just in sight of Jimmie Johnson. Jeff Burton charges the third, as traffic temporarily slows the 48 under 30 laps to go, but he holds on. Burton catches Hamlin racing about 1.6 seconds back, and Gordon now sits ninth, and the field cycles out all the way to the white, with Johnson running away.
Forward, doing great.
Here in the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix International Raceway. They call this track the Jewel of the Desert. We told you this weekend was about a duel in the desert. Could Jimmie Johnson bounce back from disappointment in Texas? And Johnson, what a performance. The three-time and defending NASCAR Sprint Cup champion gets it done and wins the third year in a row here at Phoenix.
With that, all that is between the 48 and 4 in a row is a top 25 finish. Mark Martin's 4th place isn't enough, and for Jeff Gordon, time has run out. He has been solid this chase, but not elite. The drive for 5 will have to wait another year, as he's eliminated from the 6th chase. As Hendrick Motorsports stares at a 4th consecutive title, team owner Rick Hendrick is absent from the racetrack. He's at home with his niece, where she faces emergency liver replacement surgery. He casts a mute tone over the day's excitement, and pole sitter Jimmie Johnson needs to just be mediocre to win over Mark Martin. At 50 years old, Mark has put together the greatest season by a driver who is north of 45, let alone 50. The 4-time runner-up in standings rolls off 4th, trying to finally win a championship.
To make history here in Homestead, so buckle up as we turn them loose for the final time in 2009.
Johnson clears as Mark gets the 3rd, and the 48 grabs 5 bonus points, making the mark 27th or better now. Immediately, drivers work the top groove as Kevin Harvick works to 4th behind 2nd place Marcos Ambrose. Ambrose on an incredible run closes in and passes the 48 for the lead, showing insane pace early on. He's excited, but quickly that fire is quenched by a flat right rear tire. Drags him to pit lane, and Johnson retakes his lead as Kevin Harvick now hounds the 48. The high line dominates as Harvick is passed by Stewart, as the cut tire compounds into the car randomly shutting off. Tony Stewart now hounds the 48, as Kurt Busch behind them tries to play spoiler on the HMS 1-2-3 in standings. Jeff Gordon, the 3rd place points runner, is trying to desperately defend against this, as Kurt battles with him head-to-head in points. Tony eventually gets the lead on the high side and begins to run off. Closing in on lap 40, Bowyer races by an extremely loose Mark Martin. The 5 is eventually passed by Kurt Busch and then Truex. Matt Kenseth starts the first cycle on lap 51, quickly dragging Mark down as well. Jimmie Johnson comes down and takes 4 in fuel. Status quo while race leader Stewart pits, wanting an air pressure adjustment and wedge. The race cycles out to Harvick and Bowyer leading, as Kurt Busch loses track position, staying out and leading a lap to gain 5 bonus points. Stewart in 3rd, trying to chase back down the RCR boys, rides ahead of Mark Martin in 4th, as Johnson sits 5th. Tony eventually gets both of them and is back to the lead by lap 60, as Johnson eventually reels in Mark and passes him, making the points gap 118. The race crosses under 200 to go, as Jeff Gordon works up to 6th, chasing down his teammates by lap 75. Eventually, caution is out for Marcos Ambrose, who spins harmlessly after a carburetor change. It drags the field down pit lane for the 2nd time, everyone needing more grip as the top 5 holds. Kurt Busch moves up to 6th, up 4 spots, and the race restarts on lap 86. This is the first double file restart at Homestead, as Harvick grabs the lead off of turn 2. Johnson is up to 4th, then Bowyer in 3rd, as he's looking all over Kevin. The shuffling at the front is all in part due to a quickly sinking 14 car. Montoya quickly elevates up through the field, passing Kurt for 4th, and he eventually catches the battle for 2nd, attacking the provisional champion. As Jeff Gordon sinks through the field with a potential flat tire, Johnson quickly lets him go, not tempting fate with the Colombian's aggression. The 42 elevates to second as Burton attacks the 33. Johnson does as well, but Kurt Busch takes advantage as he gets both drivers for position. Stewart on his recovery drive eventually gets the 48, as does the 11. Passing by lap 100, Juan is still all over Kevin Harvick until the second caution for John Andretti blowing a tire. He drags all the field down pit lane again, as Stewart complains of a long run car whilst Edwards takes 2 tires. Harvick and Burton still lead on the restart as the 31 wheel spins, pushing the field 2 and 3 wide behind them. Johnson has Montoya and Boyer all over him, letting the 42 by before another caution for Marcos Ambrose. This time he pastes the wall. The race quickly cleans up for a restart on lap 113. Harvick runs off again, with Stewart climbing back up to 5th. Juan and Kyle race as Tony Stewart is there with them as well. And as Kevin Harvick receives a warning for his restart, they become even busier with the actions between the 42 and 14.
He can find a place to race without having a bunch of pressure.
And Montoya just been contact. Man. Montoya and Tony Stewart together.
It's like that might just be a move. Now Montoya's got a flat tire.
And there's more to this. We're being told there may have been contact on the turn prior to that between the 42 and the 14. Look at the front of the 42 car. Apparently he ran into the back of the 14 up the racetrack. Let's show you how this all started. Now watch a 42.
See, Tony pulls right up in front of Montoya there, with Montoya having a little bit of run.
Yeah.
The two former open-wheel drivers took swings at one another, right around the 48. Tony did not enjoy the contact on the backstretch apparently, and paid the 42 back. He received damage of his own in the process, and Johnson leads the cars wanting to pit back down pit lane. And suddenly,
Alan Gustafson and Mark both agree we gotta make some major changes. Mark said, let's take a big swing at it. They're gonna make a wedge adjustment, and they're also gonna get a rubber out of the left rear. That's how much this car is wicked for Mark Martin. They've gotta make the changes. Dave.
Trouble on pit road for Elliott Sadler.
on pit lane, the 96 checked up the field and destroyed the 43, 19, and damaged various others. With all this and the 48 pitting, you have to restart 23rd, in the eye of the storm. Harvick leads and pulls away as Burton again struggles. Denny slips to second as Johnson slides around in the mess, still ahead of Mark Martin on track, who also pitted and is now 26th. Gordon, meanwhile, is tied second in points, racing Ryan Newman and Casey Kane for 6th. He passes by both as Johnson works up to 22nd, and Chad apologizes for the bad strategy call. They work past halfway as Kurt closes in on second place, and he gets Hamlin and now starts chasing down Kevin. He slips by quickly for the lead, as Johnson now climbs past Keselowski to 17th. By lap 145, Hamlin eventually catches Harvick and gets him for second. As the 29 fades into the night, Tony and Jimmy work up to 15th and 16th, as Mark barely keeps up with their pace. Montoya comes back on track 39 laps down, and as the broadcast does the trivia question asking who's the only rookie driver to win at Homestead, Juan answers the question for the viewers at home.
Let's take a look at our half-lap trivia question. Who is the only NASCAR Sprint Cup Series rookie to ever win a race here at Homestead Miami Speedway? Well, the guy spinning sideways, Tony Stewart, back in 1999 did it, and he spins and comes down across the racetrack and nudges the pit wall.
Again, this all happens right in front of Jimmy Johnson, and the field pits once more. Kurt gets blocked in by Jimmy, and Denny wins the race off. The two behind, then Burton, Kane, and Gordon. The race restarts with 106 to go, and a close moment for Jeff and Kane as the racing stays hot between Harvick and Boyer. Jimmy holds the front row seats to the chaos, as the 48 tries to pass by both of them, first clearing the 9. Kurt wrestles the 31, getting the spry 43-year-old, and once again starts chasing the lead. Johnson holds a wavering 135-point gap, as Hamlin is smothered by the older Busch brother. He desperately wants his lead back, and a trio of Chevys fight for 5th as Hamlin still holds his lead. With 90 laps, Kurt finally gets the position, as Hamlin fades behind the 31 as well. The race works to 76 laps left, before a yellow for Robbie Gordon spinning off of turn 2. The 7 driver has had very little practice this weekend, due to running the Baja 1000. he let Matt Crafton qualify the car. And after getting righted, he helps bring everyone down the pit lane. Hamlin regrabs his lead over Burton, and now Kyle Busch is up to third. Johnson falls 4 spots for the restart with 70 to go, and everyone needs another pit stop to make it home. Hamlin is caught sleeping on the restart, with Burton clearing into 1. Kyle gets second, and Kurt goes to third, as Johnson rides in 9th, closer to 4. Mark is 3 wide, as is Johnson, who is with his teammate Gordon and Truex. The one eventually gets ahead, as Gordon fades back. Kurt at the front passes his brother Kyle for runner-up, and he's trying to chase down the 31 of Burton. Jimmy runs 5th, ahead of Mark Martin in 15th, with 53 laps left. The race is shook up though by a debris caution, letting everyone pit for the last time. It opens up a quick run to the finish, all taking 4 except Kurt Busch, who is the only car with 2 tires for the restart. Mark Martin in the pack is extremely frustrated, trying not to swear, as he runs in 21st now with 46 to go. It is a Busch brother 1-2, as Kurt does heroics on 2 tires trying to hold on, but he can't. It quickly turns into a JGR 1-2, as Hamlin leads, and Mark Martin in the back finds himself in chaos. The race runs under 40 laps left, with Kane and Edwards racing one another, and Gordon and Johnson also battle for 7th. The gap is 134. And under 30 to go, the broadcast interview Carl Edwards under green flag racing inside the top 10. And Hamlin still holds the lead ahead of the field. Kyle Busch has issues as he surpasses a milestone for racing enough miles in NASCAR this year to circumnavigate the Earth at the equator. As his Magellan feat is squandered by a damaged car, we slip under 20 to go, and Johnson finally gets passed by Gordon for 6th. He's closing on history, 15 laps left, and Burton gets Kyle for 2nd. Kurt grabs 3rd as well, and Kevin for 4th. With 10 to go now, the gap is 129, each lap ticking away. It feels as this was inevitable, that it was going to happen. History to be made. As Hamlin takes the white flag, Jimmy Johnson from El Cajon, California is 7,920 feet away from unprecedented status.
And there is Jimmy Johnson 1 lap away from making history. So Denny Hamlin will come down the back straightaway, and barring incident, Hamlin will come down and take the checkered flag for his 4th win in 2009. But folks, the story is history being made by a driver, Jimmy Johnson. There comes Hamlin. Open up the history books, folks. On a November night in 2009, Jimmy Johnson is a 4-time Cup winner.
My God, I can't believe it. History, boys. No one ever. Thank you. Chad, you rock, brother.
You, my friend. That's all you. Thank you very much, man. I love you, brother.
Mr. Hendrick, buddy, we really wish you were here with us today.
We really wish you were here to celebrate, but we understand what it's all about. We hope everybody's good with everything's good with their needs. Thank you for the opportunity, Lowe's, Hendrick Motorsports, and all these fantastic race fans. Thank you for everything.
A 30 top 10 effort, a 9-win season. The greatest performance by a driver over the age of 50 ever. And Jimmy Johnson, over the last 4 years, has beaten all of them to win 4 consecutive championships. He's not only beaten Hall of Famers, but he's dominated first ballot candidates by over 100 points. Perhaps he truly is unstoppable, an untouchable modern titan, and the marks set by Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt will only be a mile marker in a path of dominance we have never seen before or after this era. Who can stop Jimmy Johnson?
And Doc, with Denny and Mary Lou Hamlin now, and by the way, they call Talladega the wild card. They used to call Denny Hurricane Hamlin, and when he brought the whole family, including Uncle Galen over here to the track, maybe that's how they won so many short track races, because they intimidated. But today, you saw your boy do it again, Mary Lou. What does that mean to you guys?
Everything. I mean, we've got fans here from his fan club, even from Alaska. It was wonderful.
I know, they were pointing at him up here. They came all the way from Alaska for Charlotte, and then they stayed a week?
Yep, they came for the fan club event. They come every single year, and they were his good luck charm.
And Denny, how much fun is it to watch your son again win at Martinsville?
This is the second time he's made me cry this year. It's tremendous. You know, we've run this track so many times with the late models and came so close to winning, and just flat tire with 2 laps to go, and you know, to win it, and especially tonight, this is all determination. I mean, you could see it in his eyes, you could hear it in his voice on the radio, and he was just determined he was going to win, and I'm so proud of him. So
Alan, a victory here in Virginia meets really close to home for this family.